if you search for negativity, you'll find it. But if you could learn to search for the positivity in your community, we have some really good people in this town. We have a beautiful downtown. Do we have issues? Yes, like every other town, that's always going to have. But if we could come together, the issues we do have, we could even make them better.
Yeah.
But being a negative person and a negative Nancy or a negative Karen, whatever you want to call them, all over social media, that's not going to help the community you live in. If you want to make a difference, get out and make a difference, and quit get behind your keyboard trying to make a difference, because that doesn't help.
Yeah.
So I did start a page on...
Yeah, I was going to ask you, tell us a little bit about the Facebook page.
So I started a Facebook page called Dozen Americus, and I started that not to bash some of the other Americus pages, but it got where they were getting so full of negativity, so full of just running the town down, gossiping. And I just want a place that people could go to see, hey, this is what's going on in Americus, or this is some different businesses in Americus, this is some sales they're having, or hey, this activity is going on, that activity is going on, without all the negativities.
Welcome to the Americus Podcast, where we pursue what it means to become a next-level neighbor, creating a place we enjoy with the people we love. I'm your host, John Schroeder, and today I am joined by my good friend, Kimberly Baker. Now, Kimberly is a good friend of mine. We've known each other for a little over a year now. She's really helped me to love my city even more by her love for people, for neighboring. And so that's one of the reasons why she's on the podcast. So, Kimberly, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Kimberly, tell me a little bit. Are you from the area of Americus?
I am not. I've moved here. I've been here maybe about 21 years now. Yeah.
Okay. So. All right. So tell me where you're from. Tell me a little bit about your family dynamics.
Oh, I'm from all over the place. So I was born in Brunswick, Georgia, when my mom and dad separated when I was 12 years old. Okay. And my mom was a single mother on welfare with depression issues, somewhat, I think, more bipolar, but they didn't really have that back when I was growing up. So she would move us all over the place. If she would get depressed, we'd up and move a whole nother state. Wow. So I lived in Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, back to Brunswick, back to South Carolina, and back to Brunswick when I got older and finally got married. So kind of a little bit all over the place.
Okay, so that was from 12 years old to...
I actually got married at 17.
Okay.
So from 12 to 17, I lived in like 4 different states.
Okay, so. Now what kind of person were you at 12 years old? What was your personality like?
Angry.
Okay.
Lost but independent. I started working at 13 as a waitress to help pay bills and buy school supplies and school clothes for me and my younger sister. So I was a little bitter and angry at the world and felt like I had to prove everybody to myself, and just angry at situations I grew up in. My mom was abusive too, until she was able to get help. Yeah. So I went through a little bit of abuse as a child as well. Yeah. So it kind of made me a little bit of an angry person more, you know. Mm-hmm.
So how were you able to express that as a 12 or 13-year-old?
I'll try to fight you if you come at me the wrong way. Yeah, I guess I would say a lot of just hidden in myself, lost, didn't really know who I was, didn't know who I was intended to be. And so, and I think that's where a lot of the anger would come out, didn't really know how to express who I was or how I felt about things. Grew up very poor, so there was times we had no car, we had no washing machine, we washed our clothes in the bathtub, walked to the grocery stores, ate at homeless shelters, lived in one for a little while with my mother. So a lot of different emotions, I would say, growing up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you recognize that this was not common, or did you say, well, this is kind of how people live? I mean, did you notice?
I feel like I recognized it was not common, especially when we lived in certain places. Like when we lived in Brunswick, I went to a school with a lot of kids from the islands. So then I was also picked on too, because poor, didn't have the popular clothes. So I was bullied a lot as a child as well. Bullied from not having good clothes, not having a good car, and different things. So I think I picked up right away that this was not normal, that you shouldn't have to live this way, and was determined at 12 and 13 that I wouldn't, as when I grew up, live that way, and that my children would not neither. So I think that's where my drive to make myself better than what I grew up in came from. So
at those ages, did you have any anchor, any inspiration, any person that you wanted to be, to become, or were you just kind of taking things as it came?
I pretty much just taking them as they came. I just knew I didn't want to be what my family was. That was my inspiration. It's like, I'm not going to be like my family. I'm not going to be like my mom. I'm not going to be like my older sister. I just knew that I wanted to be different. I wanted to be more. So I didn't really have anybody in particular that I looked up to. Unfortunately, I didn't have anyone to look up to or anything like that. But
So you said you had an older sister. Do you have any other siblings?
I do. I have 3 siblings. I have 2 older and 1 younger. My one older sister has passed away, as well as my parents are both passed away.
Okay.
And then I still have 1 older sister that's alive and 1 younger sister, and they both live in the Brunswick area.
Okay. So going through that, I mean, you said you got married at 17. So tell me a little bit about just kind of going into, high school and just kind of that framework. Where were you going? What did you want to do?
I used to want to be a cop when I was younger. I wanted to be a police officer, and I went to the police academy. Found out I don't shoot very well. I kind of aim low, so I did not make it through. I did become a probation officer for a while.
Okay.
I was a probation officer for a couple of years, and realized that it's not really what I wanted. I wanted to help. And it was more, I worked for a private-owned company where we did misdemeanor cases, and it was more, their focus was more just get the money and get them out. I wanted to help. I wanted to help these young people that were coming in that maybe didn't know better. Everybody labeled them as bad because of probation, but a lot of them just didn't know any better because they had the same kind of life I kind of had growing up in the projects. You just see what you got, and not having that mom that's there with the hot meal at night waiting on you to tell you to do your homework. Dad was in jail, mom strung out on drugs, and grandma was raising them. And I think because I grew up around a lot of kids that way, know that not every child that's young that's getting in trouble is a bad person. Some of them just don't know any better. And so that was my heart desire, to kind of bring them in and help. And I realized that wasn't what being a probation officer for a private-owned company was. So I left and went back to Shivers and been the branch manager there for 21 years.
Okay. So what was some of your relationships like? Did you have a group of friends that you kind of grew up with as well at those ages, or did you kind of feel like you were still kind of even isolated from that?
I was isolated from that because of moving so much. When you only live like a year in a state and you're moving all over the place, it was really hard at that age to make friends, especially when you're a lower income as well and you're moving to a new state, don't really have the stuff. So I didn't have a lot of friends growing up at all.
Okay. Now, your mother moved around a lot. Was it because of jobs? Was it because of family?
Depression.
Was it because
she was, they would call her nowadays, it was bipolar, but back then they didn't know a lot about it, so they labeled her manic depression.
Okay.
So when she would get into one of the really deep depressions, we'll just move it and make it better.
Okay.
So she just thought if we'd move, she'd be happier. So every time she'd get in it, we'd just up and move, and that never made her happy.
Yeah.
So
what made it settle for you? What gave you that anchor?
I think finding Christ, building my relationship with Christ, I was finally able to get a peace inside that nothing else ever brought me.
Okay.
Nothing, thankfully, a lot of kids that went through some of the stuff I went through in childhood turned to drugs and alcohol. I never did. Okay. I think I'm a little stubborn, I'm a little pig-headed, so that, that didn't help. I never turned to drugs or alcohol. I turned to anger for a while. I was just going to, if I didn't like what you said to me, we can just take it outside. Yeah. And so I had that until probably my early 30s.
Okay.
And then I got a relationship with Christ.
Wow.
And I played, I would say, religion for a while, and the religion still didn't give me the peace I was looking for. It wasn't until I built a relationship with Christ and started focusing on building a relationship with Him that it's hard to explain it, but this undeniable peace that came inside, and love and joy that was able to start coming out after building that relationship with Christ.
Wow, yeah.
I think's what helped trigger me.
Yeah, that's amazing. So at 30 years old, was there a lead up to that? Were you also kind of attending churches throughout your life experience?
Yes.
Or tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I didn't attend church as a child a lot. Got into it as an adult. I would kind of get in and out of it. I was in church really strong for a while, and then I had a daughter that passed away, and that made me angry again with God.
Yes.
Couldn't understand why a mother who loved her children, why God would take my child, but let the crackhead keep her child that's going to abuse it. So I had a lot of anger issues, again, built up towards God and Jesus and Christ. So I kind of fell out of church for a while and had that anger there, and then was able to probably about a good 7-8 years later get back in. And that's when I learned to not build a religion, but build a relationship.
Okay. What brought you back in? You said you were out, then you came back in. Was it just time, or was it someone that just said, hey, Kimberly, come?
I think just time, and I think Jesus dealing with me. Even though I was out that whole time, I could feel his tug, feel his pull, feel his desire and love, but I would try to push it away and block it. So I would give all the credit and glory to him, not really a person on this earth, but to him.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting married at 17 years old, where did you meet your husband?
I actually met him. His mother lived across the street in the projects from me. So I met him through her. Okay. It was crazy. I think back now going, what was my mom thinking letting me get married that young? I was a child, but I wasn't a child. I was a young adult who had been paying bills for 3 years and working for 3 years. And so I was at 17, I was like a typical 20, 30-year-old. It was not an easy life. We've been married 29 years this year.
Yeah,
and
congratulations.
thank you. It's been a long, hard, rocky road as we grew up together pretty much. And we've changed a lot.
Now, how old was he?
He was actually 22.
Okay.
So he's a little bit older than me. Not mentally, though. Not I think most guys are a little few years behind us women. But no. So could I say it's been all sunshines and rainbows the whole 29 years? No. But we love each other. We support each other. And we've been there for each other and watched each other grow and actually change who we are. Like the same girl that he married at 17, the same guy that he was at 22, we're not the same people now.
Yeah. I was going to ask about, as you kind of stepped into that relationship now, kind of being independent, having your own family now, what were some things that you definitely wanted to implement into your family dynamic, and did he kind of grow up in the same environments?
He did. He was actually adopted by his grandparents. His both his parents were drug addicts, and so his grandparents adopted him, who were alcoholics. So it was a little bit better than drugs, but they were also alcoholic. But with that being said, they were still a good family that drilled in him good work ethics and different things like that. But neither one of us had that perfect childhood that you would see and think, and that some do it. So we've both had obstacles to overcome throughout. Yeah.
And then you were kind of an anchor for each other for a while, and so having to move around a lot, but then deciding, did you guys move around a lot when you got married, or what was that?
No, I did not. I hate to move.
Yeah.
Now, we did move. We lived in South Carolina when we got married.
Okay, that's where y'all met?
That's where we met, in South Carolina. And then we started having children. I didn't want to raise my children around his mom, who was still at the time addicted to cocaine and would come over and cause some problems because she'd want money, and that's his mom. He'd want to give it to her. And I'm like, we need to buy milk for our child. So just seeing it when we started having children, it started just like, I don't want to raise my kids here. I don't want to raise them around that. And so we decided to move we met his dad. He didn't meet his dad till he was 24, I believe. And so we moved to Alabama, where his dad lived. Okay. And he built a relationship with his dad. It's funny how someone cannot raise you and you don't know till you're grown, but they were like two peas in a pod, just alike, demeanor and everything. So we lived there for a while. The tornadoes coming through a lot and job moving. He was not happy there. So he wanted to move back to South Carolina. I wanted to move to Brunswick, where my family was. And he's like, I'm not moving near your family. I'm like, well, I'm not moving near yours. So his grandfather lived here in Macon County, Montezuma. So that's how we ended up in this area.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So you moved here. As far as jobs, did you guys find a job here pretty quickly, or what did that look like?
Yes, he did find a job pretty quickly. I worked in Macon County for a while there, and then ended up migrating towards Americus when I went to school and was a probation officer for a little while. Worked at Georgia Building Supply in Montezuma, and then when they closed down, one of the guys that worked there came to work at Shiver Lumber, and that's kind of how I got to Shiver Lumber and been there for 21 years now, going on 22 years.
Okay, so tell me a little bit, when you first got to Americus, when was that? What year was that?
Oh, I think it was around 2001.
All right. And rural area is kind of normal for you?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
So what were your
big
expectations
town.
coming into Americus? And
Really didn't really have expectations.
Okay.
Didn't really do a lot in our community. I think I was too busy trying to be a mom and get my children through school and focused on, they went to Sly County. I was a band booster mom, band booster president. I really buried myself in my children's life.
Okay.
I wanted to do everything for them. And then when they grew up and grew out, I was like, who is Kimberly? What does Kimberly do now that her kids are grown? Because I became a mom so young. We were only married 6 months and I got pregnant. So becoming a mother so long, I think I poured my whole life into them because I didn't know what else to do. I just knew I wanted to be a better mom than what I had growing up, and a better household and stable environment.
Yeah.
And then when they grew up and decided to move out, I was lost for about a year. Didn't know who I really was because I became the daughter that had to work and help support her mom and sister immediately to a wife and a mother.
Yeah, I was about to say
and
that.
And now I'm I cried for like the first year, like, what do I do in my life now? And then I've decided another passion of helping the place that I raised my children and raising my grandchildren become a better place to live, and to help some of these kids on the streets that don't have that anchor, don't have that voice for them. And so it became a passion of mine to start helping out my community, trying to get involved in everything I could get in to make it a better place to raise my grandchildren.
And
we have a beautiful town. I love it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's having that question, posed to you, especially we do get so busy where we don't find ourselves in those vulnerable spots, or we have to ask those deeper questions about who am I, apart from this. Am I just am I just what I do, or am I something else apart from that? And so how did you kind of describe yourself at that moment when you have to answer the question, who am I?
I didn't know. I really didn't. I was a daughter, a mother, a wife. I didn't know who Kimberly was. I had never lived for Kimberly. And so I learned over the last few years, I would say, the last 5 or 6 years, that it was okay to say no. I was one of them that thought I had to do everything I was asked of and more. And I had to learn boundaries were okay to set sometimes. I had to learn trying to find myself, to spend money on myself or go places was okay. Because before, the guilt of, well, no, you need to put that all on your kids, or you need to put that all on the family. So self-care was not something. So the last, I would say 5 or 6 years, I learned that it's okay to have self-care in myself, to invest in myself, to go take them vacations, to do the things I need to do. So now I love to travel and go pretty often, and so I think finding who Kimberly was, finding the independent. I've always been very independent, always headstrong. My dad passed away when I was 19, but he used to tell me, I was like, well, Dad, why didn't you tell me this? He's like, you're hard-headed. You ain't gonna listen anyway. The only way you learn is by learning the hard way. He's like, I think he said I was as hard-headed as a mule or something like that. He was his saying. So, and I have been. I've always been. But I think being that hard-headed, determined, strong-natured person made me who I am today. It helped me get through things that some people would have let tackle them and go the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that definitely, like you said, if there's at such a young age, it seems to me that, without that hard anchor, you have to be that anchor yourself. And so you had to protect yourself. You had to kind of build these walls. And now, you're talking about your relationship in Christ and how he can be that anchor, that protection now. And so now you can be freed from that also, freed from trying to protect yourself from the world, right? And so tell me a little bit about how's your relationship with the Lord even inspires what you do now? Because like you said before, anger is a good tool to get you through life. Not wanting that to be controlling to you anymore. How does your relationship with Christ help you control your work and your relationships right now?
So I love people. I just love people. I mean, it might sound corny, but I love people. I love to look at somebody and go, I wonder what their story is. Why do they seem bitter? Why do they seem angry? Because I realize not everybody that may mistreat you when you walk into McDonald's is just mean people. You don't know their story or their backstory. And I think having that backstory helps me look at others. So I love if there's somebody that's rude to me now, to where it used to be I would just get rude back. My goal is to make them smile now. And so many times I do have customer service, just be kind of snippy and you're like, your first reaction is want to choke them. But now I'll just compliment them or smile back, and then you can just turn it around. And to see someone's eyes go from that bitter darkness to sparkling bright before you leave them, it just brings me joy. It brings me peace. Is there still days that I feel angry and that I feel frustrated and stressed? Oh, so many times. I had one the other day, and I had to just get in my car and go, Lord, I feel overwhelmed today. I feel stressed. I feel angry. I just feel, help me, Lord, give me that peace. And so I think just having that relationship with Lord, when you can realize, like, Lord, I feel stressed today. I feel overwhelmed. I feel the pressure of the world today. Come give me the Holy Spirit today and give me that peace that I'm looking for and need. And 9 times out of 10, he shows up. There's sometimes I think he goes, well, let me test you a little bit today, Kimberly. And the other day I was like, I felt that one, Lord. I kind of blew it up a little bit. But, so I think my love for people, I think my love for going that what you see on the outside of people is not normally who they are or what they are. You got to dig a little deeper in to find what that person is. And I love talking to younger people that may be in the same situation that I grew up in, to let them know that doesn't define who you are. Your parents don't define who you are. Where you live doesn't define who you are. What's your grades in school right now doesn't define who you are. You can always make a difference in life if you've got that determination and will to make a difference. And so I love talking to younger people too, that they can make a difference in their life.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot there. I mean, there's so many good things. I mean, just as far as from taking people's just first reactions and almost making it a challenge for yourself to get them to a place where you're gonna leave them better off than when you met them. I mean, that's a really great way of talking about what it means to be a next level neighbor. Is just being intentional and saying it's not just about how you treat me, but it's about how I want to leave you. I think that's a great way of explaining some of those things. And then just sharing those stories, just recognizing that people do have stories. Again, we're so bought into our own stories sometimes. It's about me, and I want to make sure that I'm getting what I get. And so every relationship is what we would call the transactional relationship. What can I get from you? I'm only your friend because you give me something. And once you stop giving me something, then I move on to more friends or whatever. But what you're talking about is transformative relationships where I want to leave you better off in some way. And whether that's through monetary or just relationships or friendships. And so, but then talking again, even about how to help people redefine how they see life, right? Framework. Those are 3 things that are really, really important. The intentionality of it, but also bringing value to people, helping them see what they can't see, right? Yes. And so how do you, when you have children or even, young adults that are just really down, how do you communicate with them in a way that helps them to take their life into a new direction, let's just say? Yeah.
I think first of all, it's just getting to know who they are. Talk to them. Some of these children out there have never even had someone that's cared enough to give them a second look or a second opportunity or a second care. Just find out who they are. What are their dreams? What can we do to help them dreams? Try to, our city is having problems right now. These young people getting shot and killed. I mean, I hear every weekend of another shooting. We've got to get to know these children better and get in there. Some of these children have no home life. I had, as a probation officer, a young man who couldn't find a job. He was having to go out every day and get sign off saying he found a job. And he come in one day and I asked him, I said, are you going dressed like that looking for a job? And I spent 30 minutes that day talking to that young man about how he should ask for the manager, not just turn an application, how he should take his own pen, how he should shake her hand, introduce himself, different things that to me and you is probably common sense. And he walked out of my office that day and he turned back around with a tear in his eye and he said, Miss Baker, he said, I just want to thank you. ain't nobody ever spent no time like that with me. And he found a job the next day. Sometimes these young people just need someone to care and show them they care. And stuff that you and I may think is common sense and everybody should know it, some of them don't. So just finding what is their need. What can I do to help them become what they want to be, or to help them get out of where they're at? Sometimes it's just talking to them, showing them you care, showing them that you love them. I had a young man the other day that I took home, and we hired him to help us do some work. And he told me, and it broke my heart. He says, I've never rode in the car with a white person before, And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I've never really had that relationship. So it broke my heart to know that maybe no white people cared enough about this young black man to get to know him. And I was like, so how am I doing so far? And we both laughed, and he's like, it's not like what I thought it would. And so to me, I have a mixed grandchild, and breaking down barriers between race, social status, just showing someone you love them. I don't care what color you are. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care where you come from, where you're going. Just showing them you love them for who they are as a person, and not what they can give me or what they can do for us, but just loving them for who they are, and that God intentionally put them on this earth.
Yeah. So part of that too is, like you said, getting a chance to listen to them. And if they are in some of those same places where they are angry, they feel left out, they feel they're in a dark place, outside of just doing that, what are some other things that you have encouraged them with to let them know that they have great value?
Well, I try to get to see, depends on the situation, what that person is, what they need. Like I said, you've got to talk to them first, just figure out who they are, what are their needs. And then depending on what their needs are, knowing which way to go. I'm talking to someone right now about trying to maybe bring a boxing club to Americus where we can get scholarships for some of these children to give them good positive ways to trigger their anger. If we could, that's what I've talked about, wanting to bring a community center to Americus. I feel like Americus needs a community center so bad that some of these children that have nothing to do and they end up getting into the gangs, well, we can have something positive for them to do and go. So I guess that question would depend on who that individual is, what their need is. I do a Christmas thing every year in my yard, which is something simple, but last year we had over 500 people come through. So I say something simple, but it's grew every year. And it's just free for the community. We have barrel train rides and games and free gifts for the kids that come, and cotton candy and popcorn. And I do all that free. I don't charge anybody that comes. Last year I did have like 2 businesses that helped me sponsor, and it was great because I could get porta toilets. But I do it just to show them love. Like, hey, come to our yard, do something being that child that grew up and I never got to go to festivals. And if I did, we didn't get to ride the barrel train rides. We didn't get free we didn't get cotton candy. So if I can give one child that maybe would not get cotton candy or get to ride a barrel train ride or get face painted, because it's expensive at festivals to get that kind of stuff. And if I can let one child have that and see the love of Christ and see the love in people in their community, then that makes it all worth it to me.
Yeah.
So I try to do different things in the community. I try to help with the Sumter County School, the FFA. I've went this year, there was a lot of young people that wasn't going to be able to get the jackets. Even though they had earned them, their parents couldn't afford it. So I went to our local Rotary Club, which I'm a part of, and we raised all the money to buy 60 jackets. So these kids that earned it but couldn't afford it was able to get it. It's a small thing sometimes that can really make a difference in a young person's life.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's encouraging too is, again, getting a chance to hear your story, and the motivation is no longer I'm trying to run from something, but I'm trying to come for something too. Like I want this for them, and not just because I've been impacted, but because I feel like I've been impacted negatively, but my relationship with Christ has impacted me more now. And so now I want to give from that, which is an amazing thing. And so I just love what you're doing. I mean, I love hearing your stories. I love getting a chance to see you. You're always out. We're always connecting in some way. And we're not we're not blinded by some of the issues in our community and some of the people and some of the obstacles that we have. Yet at the same time, we're still coming together. We're still smiling, and we don't mind hearing the word no. We'll figure it out. So that's always very encouraging. So let's talk a little bit. That's a really good snapshot of who you are. And so let's talk a little bit about kind of what you're doing now. You've already mentioned a lot of things about what you're doing. You mentioned you've been working for Shivers for 21 years, you said?
21, going on 22.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about Shivers and kind of what they do and where they're located.
We're located on West Church Street. It's a family-owned hardware lumber yard. They've been open since 1900, so 124 years. Same family, same location.
Wow.
I'm the branch manager there, so I do everything. Wherever I'm needed that day. I've been out on the forklifts before, driving them, or the next day I could be doing credit and collections. I also help with his rental properties. He has 37 rental properties, so I could be, doing that. This depends on, as a manager, most people that are managers are going to know. You're wherever you're needed that day, so I do a little bit of all of it. Good Christian family to work for. They're a family that loves pouring back into the community. So Mr. Shiver donates a lot to the different charities in the community and different things, also oversees some as well. So I love that I work for a company too, that I can be who I am. I can express Christians if we want to pray at the events we have and different things we have that.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
I love working there. I have good co-workers. As their manager, I don't say they're my employees. I love to address them as my co-workers because that's what they are. So I have a good group of co-workers. I've had a lot leave me over the years. I've had some that was with me, some that was there before me. Recently it's left. And that's a hard when you've worked with somebody for so long and they leave, getting them people replaced in their relationships. But we do have some good co-workers and
now
stuff.
Tell me some of the
me.
products Shivers Lumber Company, because it sounds like lumber.
Yes,
So
we get
tell me
that a
more.
lot. Oh, y'all just sell lumber. No, we sell crickets. We sell clothes. We sell boots. We sell paint. We sell flooring, cabinets, countertops, anything you would need to build your house, we have. In addition of that, though, we also have the Shiver outdoor section that we started. So we sell ammo, guns, hunting, fishing stuff, a little bit of everything.
That's great. So if you haven't been out to Shivers, you need to go
come
out
by
there
and
and check
see
it
me.
out.
Yep,
See
come by and
Kimberly.
see us.
She'll be there to take care of you if she's not out and about doing
somewhere,
everything else. So just ask for Kimberly. All right. So outside of that, you're also a part of, like you said, the Rotary. What are some other things that you're
So I'm in the Rotary Club, which we
Mm-hmm.
try to do different things throughout the community as well and pour into the community. I'm also a board member of the Heart of Sumter, and that is exactly what it says. It's the Heart of Sumter. We care about what goes on in Sumter County. One of the things we're focused on now is having a summit in October that we're hoping to bring different people in the community, different leaderships in the community to talk about the young violence that we're having and to see what do we need to do. Okay, we keep talking about we need to do all this stuff, but what's really happening? So we're hoping that we can bring different leaders throughout the community that are working on the same thing, but maybe not communicating. We're hoping we can be that bridge to say, okay, here's a problem that we know we have. What can we do together? My little slogans, we're better together. What can we do together as a community of leaders to help make a difference in our community, help make a difference in these young people? So that's one of our big projects we're working on with the Heart of Sumter. And then just me personally, like you said, I'm in a little bit of everything. I've recently started going to different of the city commissioner meetings, the coffee talks they have downtown. If you want to know what's going on in your community, come to some of this stuff. You don't know what's going on if you don't put yourself in it. If and someone asked me a couple of weeks ago, why do you love America so much? We have this and we have that and we have the other. Okay, I'm aware we have potholes. I'm aware we have violence. Show me a city and a town that doesn't. But I'm raising my grandchildren here. Well, I'm not. Their parents are. But my kids live here. They're raising their children here. I love my community. We have some good people. If you would push out the negativity, if you search for negativity, you'll find it. But if you could learn to search for the positivity in your community, we have some really good people in this town. We have a beautiful downtown. Do we have issues? Yes, like every other town, that's always going to have. But if we could come together, the issues we do have, we could even make them better. But being a negative person and a negative Nancy or a negative Karen, whatever you want to call them, all over social media, that's not going to help the community you live in. If you want to make a difference, get out and make a difference, and quit get behind your keyboard trying to make a difference, because it doesn't help.
Yeah.
So I did start a page on.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Tell us a little bit about the Facebook page.
So I started a Facebook page called This is Americus, and I started that not to bash some of the other Americus pages, but it got where they were getting so full of negativity, so full of just running the town down, gossiping, and I just want a place that people could go to see, hey, this is what's going on in Americus, or this is some different businesses in Americus, this is some sales they're having, or hey, this activity is going on, that activity is going on, without all the negativity. So I actually have to approve the post before they're on there, but I'm on there several times throughout the day, so I could quickly approve the post, because I just don't want the negative. I want some of the positive. I want somebody, if they're looking to come to vacation in Americus, that they can go see some of the different things that's going on throughout the weekend in the town or surrounding areas, without seeing all the negativity of the town.
Yeah.
As a town, if we focus on the negativity and put that all over social media, how can we expect a difference in our town if we, the community members, are just negative and ugly to each other?
Yeah.
How do we want a difference in our town if we don't get out and make a difference in our town?
Yeah.
If we could bond together, be better together, then we can make a difference. Our town, in the last couple of years, our downtown area is growing. Kwan and Jennifer and and Nicole and all them, they're doing a great job at trying to promote our downtown, trying to promote tourism, bring new stuff to our downtown area, but they can't do it alone.
Yeah.
It takes a community. We have cleanup day coming. Can't remember the date.
September
right
21st, I think.
September 21st. We have cleanup day. So if you think your town looks trashy, come out and help us pick up trash.
That's
or
right.
quit throwing trash out your cars. Stuff like that. So it's just to build more, and I had someone tell me, well, you just think this all. No, I realize there's problems, but I prefer to focus on the good in the town than the bad. If you focus on the good, you'll see good. So that's my goal with that page and my whole persona of just trying to get out in the community and make it a better place.
And I think people need to recognize that you're coming from a place where you've heard the word no just as much as anyone else.
Yes.
That life isn't easier for you.
No.
That, not everything that you do just works all the time. I mean, you're constantly working through, again, just you're just growing up and experiencing all of that, but also just being in a town, wanting to see it thrive, and hearing the word no, and yet you're still here. And so I think it's necessary, because some people would say, well, that's because I bet everything that happens for Kimberly works out for her. She's like, no.
Not at all.
And so that's really important. Now, one of the things you've also done is invest into downtown, right? By looking into one of these buildings, correct?
Yes. We recently, 3 months ago now it's been, purchased building 130 Cotton Avenue.
Okay.
It had been, Mr. Ben Ansley and his family owned it, and I saw him the other day, and he's so glad that somebody's buying it, actually doing something with it.
Yeah.
They had just kind of left it, and it had been, so we are restoring it and hoping to bring it back to life. My daughter is opening a gaming store. It's going to be called Ethereal-Gaming.
Okay.
Now, I'm not a gamer, so please excuse me. I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's like tournament games like Warhammer, Dungeons and Dragons, and just different things. And I've heard there's actually a good group of people here that are gamers. So they're really excited to bring that to the table and to Americus. They're also wanting to do family nights. Well, they'll just have different games too that you can just bring your kids in and play board games and really focus on a family atmosphere. So that's going to be the building can hold 2 businesses.
Okay.
So that's going to be one side. The other side, my husband and I are dabbling, and if we're praying right now for God to send us the right person, and if He does send us the right person to run it, we want to open a donut shop. A donut shop with a twist. We would have donut hamburgers and donut chicken sandwiches and donut waffles and a whole thing. We want to do the 1950s retro diner theme because the 50s just seemed so much happier and more positive. And so we're going to do the pink and the teal and the whole 50s theme. We're also going to have games in there too. So if you want to just come in, eat a donut, play Connect 4 with your child or checkers, just come in, take the world off, get back, put the phones down, get to know the person next to you, get to know the person across the diner from you, communicate more, talk more, have a place where people could come in. We have a back part of the building too that we're going to build some shelter over it, put some tables out there, some cornhole boards. So our whole focus will be just to bring back a family atmosphere where people maybe can put their phones down a little bit and get to know the neighbor across from them, get to talk to the person that's, I have a friend from Texas that goes, I hate going to the grocery store with you because you know everybody. it's not that I know everybody, I just talk to everybody.
Yeah.
Whether I know you or not, I'll just look up and just start talking to you. I mean, why are we not like that?
Yeah.
Why are more people? So my whole thing for wanting to do this is hoping that people will get to know who their neighbors are, get to know who their community members are, come back into a time which is happy and doing that one. So we're praying right now that God is going to send us someone to help run that for us. And if we do, we call it Baker's Dozen because our last name is Baker. So I think it's a good blunt. So that would be kind of the goals we're working for. And just wanting to bring the life back to Cotton. I feel like Cotton's a street that's been kind of not really fixed up yet and abandoned a little bit. So we're wanting to bring some life back to that street.
Yeah, there's a lot of history in Cotton, too, on Cotton Avenue.
So we're wanting to bring some positive history to that street and life back to that street. And
now, that's obviously because, Kimberly, you make millions of dollars and everything works out and all the city things are very easy for you, right?
Yeah. That's why I'm working until 10, 11 o'clock every night myself.
That's right.
We work all day long, and then we go at night and in there sanding and doing a lot of the work ourselves because things are not handed to us. Things are not there.
And that's what I want people to know that what you're talking about is something that requires a lot of sacrifice.
Yes, a lot of hard work and dedication.
A lot of hard work, yes. And again, a lot of no's and working through those no's as much as possible.
Yes.
Especially in a downtown where, like you said, what I love about this downtown is it has a lot of history. There's a lot of beauty in it, but a lot of the beauty is on the outside. When you get into these buildings, you're like, wow, it needs a lot of work. But that's kind of what we're talking about, even our spiritual lives. We can look really good on the the but man, on the inside, we need complete renovation sometimes. And so I think that's a really good perception of what you're doing here is you're taking something that needs a lot of love and you're working towards it. And that requires a greater love for the city and for the people, not just for yourself. Because if it was just for you, you'd move on. It's just too much. There's too many no's.
One of the things that inspires me as well is to help other local business owners, especially if it's a woman business owner, just because I am a woman too, and women have so much more to overcome than a man. Even though we are in the millennial and we're in the 2024, it's still harder for a woman to be a successful business person. So I love supporting other local businesses too, whether it's a woman or a man business, but I love just to get out and walk into some of these shops I'd never been in. I went into Code Black a couple months ago and met the most loveliest woman, Charmaine Edge, and didn't know. I actually found I knew her husband for a long time from Shiver Lumber as a contractor, but she is the sweetest woman ever, and she has so much more than just clothes, which I thought was just by seeing it when I walk in, and she's got all these natural things in her store that she sells. She sells an amazing seaweed for your face, skincare stuff, and it's amazing. So I love going into, just lately, just going into some of these local shops and meeting the owners, and a lot of our local owned shops are women and men that didn't have the family history of just being handed a business. They're hardworking Americans that came along and decided to open a business and struggle and work hard every day. So I definitely would say get out and support your local shops, your local boutiques. Go shop them instead of Walmart. A lot of them have good prices, or some of your local photography shops, your restaurants in town. I would love to say support local, because local is what supports a lot of us. Because trust me, every time the school band needs something or the softball team, they hit up these local businesses. So give back to your local businesses as much as we give to the community. I'm starting a new project right now that I was out last week walking downtown.
I was going to ask you about this. Tell me about this.
We started it years ago at Shivers, just through realtors. I haven't had a chance to speak with K1 yet to see if they'll let me put some in the city hall, the welcome station, but we're calling them welcome bags. And it's just where if you're new to this area and you moved, you can go pick this bag up. And it's just got a lot of different things in there from different local businesses. It might be, Wolf Creek, I think, is going to offer a 10% off and a free wine tasting. Shivers is offering a $25 gift card and 10% off paint and paints and clothes paint, cabinets, countertops, flooring, things that if you're moving in, just bought a house, usually like to update it. Reached out to some of the other local vendors. A lot of them are interested. They're going to put just like a coupon in there or a welcome, and this is about us. This is what our store offers. Because what I find is a lot of us walk by and go, oh, Code Black, they're just probably closed. We never walked in there and realized they have a lot more. The Maze has so many different things, even a coffee shop inside. So it will be a way to, if you're new to into the area. It's going to have all these different businesses and their flyers in there and what they offer to encourage people to get downtown, encourage them to walk into these locally owned businesses, which are the backbone of Americus and the backbone of America. Local small businesses are the backbone of America and what keeps it striving. So
I love that.
Put my little plug out there to support your local businesses.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much, because I was even talking with Sid Walker, our urban planner for the area, and I was mentioning him even with some of these college students. I said, listen, they can go out to Zaxby's and Burger King, Taco Bell. That's anywhere. But if we can let them experience Euro City or Pat's Place or the Spot or the coffee shops here, where they're not going to get it anywhere else. No. They're going to say, I want to stay here because I just love these. This is so unique. It's the place I want to come back to. And so, getting even college students to be aware of these really unique places downtown and other places as well. Gladys Kitchen downtown, all that. There's so much here. Roman's Oven, that's over here. So a lot of really great opportunities for so many people to hear more about our city and get plugged in. So let's talk really quickly about even kind of the future of Americus. I mean, you and I, like I said, we want to see. We're going to be here until the Lord calls us home or calls us out. We're here. We're not thinking about any other place right now. And so what are some things that you get excited about when you think about the future of Americus? What does Americus need?
We need a community center. That's the biggest thing I think we need. We need something for the young people to do, not just the youth, teenagers, but even some of the younger ones. That's one of the things. My daughter, she had moved up to upstate New York. Her husband was military. And she almost cried coming back home because she didn't want to at first. Like, she missed us and she missed being close because our family's always been a really close-knit family. But she's like, there's nothing to do there, Mom. There's nothing. Like, up here, we got something on every corner. And she lived in upstate, so it was more of the countryside of New York. But there was all these state parks near her and these places to take our kids to. And so that really bothered her a lot. And I was like, well, she's like, I don't want to drive 45 minutes to have to do something with my kids. I want to be able to go. So I would love to see Americus grow a little bit in the family atmosphere to bring stuff to have children to do. That, if you've got 10 and under, there's something to do. Or if you have teenagers, there's something to do. So if there's any investors out there that want to bring a fun park or something to do, we need that in Americus. We need something positive that we can take our children to, our teenagers to. So I'd love to see that. I would love to see a community center where there is one place focused, like a YMCA or something like that. That's one of the biggest things that I personally feel like Americus needs and would love to see come into it.
Is there any like you talking about a YMCA, things like that? I mean, are there specific people or things that you would love to say? I feel like they could lead that. They could be a part of that in some way. Just even in our city, knowing some of our leaders and things like that. Just not putting it on anybody, but just like, I mean. Yeah, just thinking through
I know right now one of my ideas is we have the old high school that's sitting there not really utilized and being used. I mean, that would be a perfect place to have a community center. I mean, and there's so much that could go into a community center other than just like, saying like the pool or the thing, but there's so much. There could be training there. There could be how to teach a kid how to interview. There could be so many different aspects of that high school that our tax-paying money is just sitting there. The air conditioner is still being ran. All of this because they've got to keep it up, but why not invest it and turn it into something better? As far as when I mentioned it today at one of the city council meetings, they said, well, it would take grants or money to do that and someone to run it. I'm sure there's a new church in town that would love to run it. So I think there's people in town that would run it. We do need fundings. We would have to find fundings for it. We've got a few grant writers in town that I would love to get with and say, hey, let's get a grant to bring this. I mean, it is really something that I strongly feel Americus needs. And I think it would take us, the Boys and Girls Club shut down in Americus about 10 or 11, maybe 12 years ago. Don't quote me on it. That's when we started seeing the crime rate spike. There's got to be a connection between the two.
Yeah.
Now, there is a boys club, Dwight Harris Boys Club in town, and he does a phenomenal job with these young men. But he's only one person, only one group. You know, if we could collaborate with him and then bringing in another one, we need something for these young women. We have young teenage pregnancies constantly, just, you know, different things that if we could have a center that, and it could be more than just, you know, one thing. But, so I just really think that that's really something Americus needs, and something for the young people. I'd love to see some more activities come. We got a good bit of restaurants. We got some great restaurants in town, you know, and different things. We need some kind of activity. We have 2 colleges here too.
Yeah.
I mean, why not bring something for these college kids to do? I hear a lot of our college kids go home on the weekends because there's no entertainment here.
Yeah.
So definitely we would need some kind of good entertainment here.
Yeah, I love that. Those are some really amazing ideas, and I'm right with you. I mean, I think about you know, there's the idea of the end result, you know, of having something like a community center here in the next 10 to 15 years, but even the idea of, you know, starting smaller and building as quickly as possible, you know. So for example, maybe even trying to figure out, can we section off some of the school? Just get some of it up and running, and then just run that really, really well. And so instead of needing $20 million, we just need X amount of dollars just to get started. And then it starts, and then we kind of see the concept working and go, yes, let's expand it out to this whole school area. Let's go ahead and do that. Now, again, I don't know exactly how all that could do it, but I'll take 50 no's. And let's just see what we can do, or again, collaborating as much as possible with people that would be willing to say, "Hey, let's invest into something like this."
Yeah,
together.
I would love to. If there's more people out there that think that's a great idea too, us come together as a group and see if we can't get a meeting with the superintendents of the school. I mean, our taxpayer money is already paying for the school to still be ran. To be, why are we paying taxpaying money to sit there empty? So I'd love to hopefully be able to get a hold of the superintendent, maybe have a group of like-minded people to have a plan to say, okay, if we did start it small, we just need a small section. What do we want to accomplish? What do we want that to be? Let's go to the superintendent with a plan, and maybe more people, if we could come together, better together again.
Yeah, that's right.
We can come up with something versus it just sitting there. So I would love to.
Absolutely.
I'm like you. I don't think it would take. I think when you talk to city officials, they think big. You got to have $20 million to start something like that. You and I, maybe, that we're more kind of say, okay, well, let's just start here and let's start small and grow with that and then expand bigger and bigger. And so I don't think it has to have that. We need this huge $20 million grant. No. Sometimes you just need people in the community that care, that love. I'm sure there's people in the community with volunteer time to go out there to see a difference in our community, because if we don't invest in our community now, we don't invest in our young people now, who you think is going to be running your community in 10 or 15 years? So what do you want your town to be in 10 or 15 years? Do you want to start investing in it now and be able to say in 10 or 15 years we have a great community, or do you want to keep letting it go the way it is? No investment in it, no investment in our young people, and then 10 or 15 years looking, going, whoa, really wish we just started something 10 or 15 years ago. So it can be something small with volunteers.
And I completely agree that, you know, you and I have talked about there are a lot of things that are happening, and I think our hope too, as we've talked, is learning how to collaborate to say, hey, if we're doing 15 of the same thing, let's be more collaborating in that, so that we can say, let's pull all of our resources together to see this happen.
Better together.
Instead of it's being so sparsed out to where some people hear about it, some people don't. And so sometimes the resources, they need more resources over here, but they're not, you know, so it's just getting people together to actually have that, because it's here. The abilities here, the volunteers are here, the people, the resources can be here. But instead of doing 15 projects, let's just do one really well together. So, and again, that doesn't mean that it has to be our project. It just has to be one that makes sense to the community. So I really love that. And I think that's where we need to be going. And again, you know, the heart behind it is not because we are upset with our city or because we feel like we can do better. It's because we actually love our city and we want to see it win. We want to see it thrive. We're so thankful to be a part. We want to see this history. There's so much history here. Let's continue push that history for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
We have such an amazing and beautiful downtown. I talk to people all the time. Met a couple today from Florida that moved here, so they just fell in love with our town. We have a beautiful downtown, and I feel like we have grown the last couple of years, and I only see us getting better. It does take us a community coming together. So if anybody's watching this and they don't know how to volunteer, reach out to me, reach out to John. There's so many different places here that you can be a part of your community and make your community a better place to live. Again, I'll throw my little plug out there. The Heart of Sumter is having a summit in October. Please reach out to me. I'm on Facebook. You can find me quickly and easily. Would love to talk. Would love to have more leaders come into this summit and us figure out together as a community what we can do to make a difference. And that's all we want to do. We just want to come together and say, hey, what is everybody working on? Can we come together to make a greater difference as one? And if we can be one as, instead of divided, then we can make a difference in our community.
Yeah,
so.
I love that. I love that, Kimberly. Well, let's spend the last few moments together. We do what we call rapid fire questions.
Alrighty.
So these are just kind of fun questions where we get a chance to get to know you a little bit more. So let me ask you just a few of these. So are you a coffee or a tea kind of person?
I'm not a hot drink person, so I don't care for coffee or tea, but I'm addicted to the Americus Energy and Nutrition. They call them teas, but they're like fruity. She actually named one the Kimberly.
Yes.
And it's just amazing. It's like pina colada and peach and strawberry and 200 milligrams of caffeine. She does have lower milligrams if you like it, but they're lately my addiction.
So does that describe you as a person, you think?
Yeah. I think fruity and sweet. Sweet with a little bit of tang is how it tastes. It's a sweet drink with a tang to it. So that I think it exactly describe me as a person. Right. Sweet with a little bit of tang.
All right. So where do people need to go to get the Kimberly?
She is at the Americus Energy and Nutrition next to the Shepherd House in that plaza. She's out there, Heather, and she's a local owned businesswoman too that came from nothing and built her business up and worked hard to start it. And she has it. So that's my addiction.
I love that. Okay. For vacation, or do you like to go to the beach or mountains?
Mountains. Love them. Love the mountains and the creeks.
I love that. Dog or a cat person?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't have any animals right now because not that I'm not an animal lover, because I am, but I'm just so busy. We used to have a dog. He was a blue pit, and I loved him. He was my baby. But when he passed, we decided we were too busy to really dedicate to an animal, and they deserve better than parents that were gone all the time. So I like both cats and dogs if I had to. They're both such different creatures, but you know, cats are independent, dogs are loving.
Now, husband's name is Scotty.
Scotty.
What about Scotty? Is he a dog or cat person?
Scotty is like we have turtles right now. We have pet turtles because we rescued them at our pool. He's not one that would like animals in the house. Okay. So he, but dog.
Yes.
When we had, because we both loved our dog. When we had our pit, he was our baby.
That's
awesome. He was our baby.
What about early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Yeah?
Both of us. Yeah, we will work until like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes on the building, but I don't want to get before. That's why I need somebody else to run the donut shop, because I don't want to get up at 4 o'clock and cook the donuts.
That's great.
7 o'clock is good for me. 7 or 8. Yeah, I'm late all the time.
Okay. So you say you're not a gamer. What do you like to do for a hobby?
I love to hike. I love to see adventure, and I'm an adventurer, so I love to hike. I like to get out. I love people. I love to talk to people and meet new people. So if I can go hiking and go out and be adventurous to see things. I like to dance, even though I can't dance. I have no coordination. Okay. I love just to have fun, just to get out, dance, go places, meet people, hike. Just that would be
any places that you've really enjoyed hiking?
I love High Falls. It's one of my closest ones I've enjoyed. North Georgia. I'm actually going to Montana next month for a week. So super excited.
Just to hike?
Well, we're going to Glacier National Park, and then we're going to go into Great Falls, Montana, visit my cousins for a couple of days, and then Yellowstone. So we'll be hiking the whole 6 days we're there. So we're excited about that trip.
I love it. All right, so sweet or savory, kind of for a snack?
Why do I have to choose? Can I have both, sweet and savory?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a sweet and savory.
All right. Are you, as far as movie or TV shows, do you watch anything? Does anything catch you?
Not really. I'm not a big sit down and watch TV kind of person because I'm too busy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I did. I did get into the Bridgerton a little bit that everybody's into right now, but I'm not one that gets addicted to shows and have to watch them. I mean, we don't even have cable really, but we're not home a lot. I'd rather be out in the public than stuck behind a TV screen. So
I love that. Okay. What about a dream travel destination? Anywhere where you'd love to just go?
I want to go to Ireland.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know what intrigued me about Ireland. I made a plan a couple years ago. I had a 10-year plan that, I want to start seeing. Now, my husband doesn't travel. This is a trick. I have a girlfriend I travel with. She's a fellow Christian girl, and her husband doesn't travel neither, so we travel well. But her and I want to see a new state every year and a new country at least every couple of years. So we're planning on starting to travel out of the country some. I got my passport this year. I've only been to the Bahamas or Mexico, but I want to go to England. I have an exchange student that we fell in love with last year. He's from England, so he's wanting us to come see him next year. So maybe England next year. Okay. But yeah, I want to see the world.
I love that. I love that. All right. Any piece of advice that you love to just give to people?
Never give up on your dreams. Never take no for an answer. Strive to be a better person every day. If you find the inner peace and happiness within yourself, it explode out, and life just seems to get easier. If you're not a believer, love to talk to you, because I promise you, becoming a Christian and building a relationship. Don't build religion. There's a big difference in religion and relationship with Christ. Building that relationship with Christ, to me, it helped my whole world. And I've got some friends that are non-believers, and we're able to talk about it. Don't get so angry about things, guys. You can disagree. You can agree to disagree with a person and still like them as that person. So I would say to anybody, quit trying to prove the world, to make your opinions the right one. Learn to hear each other out, listen to their side, let them listen to your side, and just come to a mutual ground. Yeah. I guess I would say. That's my biggest thing.
I love that. Yeah. Well, Kimberly, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Again, I'm very thankful to have known you. Thank you so much. You're a risk taker. I know that. Even coming and being a part of our church, even now, has been encouraging to me. Starting new things, being okay with being in odd places, because sometimes we find our strongest abilities when we put ourselves in uncomfortable situations, because then we really have to be there and be present. Yeah. And so thank you so much for doing that. I really love what you're doing with the city. It's always an encouragement to me. I hope that we see some of these things in the future, and then we get to do some of those together as well.
Yes, so. Me too. Well, thank you so much for inviting me on and having me. I've enjoyed it. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, we're good.
Yay.
We did it.
Maybe I didn't